I've talked about Guild Wars 2 lore a whole lot on this channel. We've explored big important topics and some less important topics. But in this lore discussion video, I'd like to focus on some lore topics that may be completely unknown to many players. Some of this stuff may be information that's hidden between the lines using context clues, and others may be so obscure it had to be dug up from the depths of the Guild Wars history and lore. So in no particular order, let's nerd out on some tasty lore nuggets, shall we? The Scrit Intellect can rival even that of the Azura. The Scrit race were actually designed to be the rivals to the Azura. Both of them originally lived in the depths of Tyria, but eventually had to migrate to the surface world. While in the depths, this is where the Azura developed a bit of a hatred for the Scrit. Scrit are well known to be scavengers, always stealing important items from others, and they would often do this to the Azura to discover more about them. An individual Scrit is pretty dumb, but in a massive group they adopt a hive mind behavior. While in this hive mind, they can understand a great deal of information about just about any topic, and this is something that the Azura hate about them, that these seemingly dumb rats are able to understand and comprehend even the most complex Azura research project. One thing that helps the Scrit in this hive mind is their ability to communicate at a remarkable speed. They're able to speak to each other and other races, but they're also able to communicate amongst themselves using ultrasonic clicking. Doing so allows them to deliver a great deal of information to each other in a matter of seconds, spreading any newly learned knowledge through the hive mind rapidly. Their ability to rival the Azura made the Azura so mad that they tried to convince the other races to hunt down and exterminate the Scrit. Luckily for the Scrit, the humans and Sylvari saw great potential in having the Scrit as allies, so they put a stop to this Scrit extermination plan. Quaggins can go full sicko mode berserk in battle. You probably know the Quaggins as being a calm, peaceful race. The fun little water creatures, everybody loves them. Well, in the rare event that someone doesn't love them and tries to kill them, they're gonna get a lot more than they bargained for. The Quaggins will not just roll over and die, they will fight back. Quaggins have the ability to enrage. This is usually only done in moments of extreme danger or in response to extreme pain. They have a huge spike in adrenaline and their body transforms rapidly. They take on more of a grotesque fish monster look. Their skin will harden, developing thick armored scales. Their eyes will grow bigger. Their head will develop hard, bony ridges, sometimes having spiny rays protruding from them. Teeth grow to a massive size, causing them to stick out of their jaws. They even have long, sharp talons that grow out of their fingers. But it's not just their body that changes, their behavior does too. They fly into a rage mode, going berserk, fighting anything nearby that they see as an enemy. They only become focused on destroying whatever threat triggered this rage mode, and they have a hard time controlling themselves while they're enraged like this. Depending on what story steps you decided to complete, you may have encountered a Quaggin by the name of Baruch. Baruch has mastered this enraged state, and he stays in it all the time. It's almost hard to believe he's a Quaggin with how scary he looks. Actually, it's a little scary to think that all Quaggins have the ability to do this. Could they secretly be one of the most strongest races? Moving on to the next bit. The Tangu used to eat humans. Allegedly. To explain this one, we need to talk a little bit about the early Tangu history. The Tangu have always lived in different clans that are spread across the world. One of the most notable clans is called the Sensali. The Sensali are a clan that is native to Xingzhe Island. They've always lived there. Now, each Tangu clan hasn't always been on good terms with each other or with the other races. So much so that there is a time period in Canthan history that's referred to as the Tangu Wars, since it's pretty much just filled with conflict between Tangu clans and others. However, this period is believed to have started when the Sensali committed some pretty horrific war crimes. The humans in Cantha began expanding their settlements, and they eventually traveled to Xingzhe Island. They made a big village and began their peaceful life of farming and fishing. The Sensali didn't like these humans on their island, so they went over and they destroyed and massacred the entire village. And there was never any bodies found. No mass graves, no big piles of human ashes, nothing. A rumor began circling that the Sensali actually ate the bodies. Now there's a chance this is true, or maybe it's made up, that's why I said allegedly. The Sensali were always at odds with the other Tangu clans and the humans. The other Tangu clans were trying to make peace with the humans while still fighting the Sensali. So it might be a good way to get the humans on your side to fight the Sensali with you if you start a rumor that they ate the bodies of your dead countrymen, or if you expose the fact that they ate the bodies of your dead countrymen. But like I said, this is all allegedly. However, there were no bodies found, so what happened to them? Taking a break from obscure race lore, I want to turn our attention to Queen Jenna. The topic of discussion, Queen Jenna is the most powerful mesmer in existence. She may even be the most powerful mortal, period. If she even is mortal, but we'll get to that. She is a descendant of King Doric, who was the first king of humanity. King Doric was also king while the gods were still on Tyria. And when the gods gifted magic to the humans, it was his blood that was used to create the Bloodstones. This could be part of the reason why his descendants are so adept with magic. Getting back to Queen Jenna, there have been many times where she has cast spells that should not be possible by mere mortals. For example, when Kralkatorrik created the dragon brand, Queen Jenna was in Fort Ebonhawk. Queen Jenna glimpsed into the eye of the Brandstorm, but she also glimpsed into the mind of Kralkatorrik himself. Doing so would likely just kill any average mesmer, just overloading their mind and breaking it. But Jenna was able to handle it and actually connect her mind with his. Kralkatorrik didn't like this, so he would send a branded army to destroy Ebonhawk and kill her. But she would single-handedly hold off this attack. She created a clone of Kralkatorrik and cast an entire illusion over the city to make it look like it was already branded. The clone of Kralkatorrik was so lifelike and convincing that even the branded minions thought it was real and they just stopped the attack. But it doesn't stop there. If you've played through the Living Story, you've probably seen Queen Jenna cast a feedback spell over the entire city to protect Divinity's Reach from a White Mantle attack. She also kills a bunch of White Mantle attackers by just snapping her fingers and breaking their mind. Now back to that comment I made about, is she even mortal? There is a fan theory that she may not be mortal and is actually one of the two halves of Lissa, and there is a bit of supporting evidence for this theory. Keep in mind, this is just a fan theory, so none of it's confirmed, it's all just speculation. Queen Jenna is a super powerful mesmer capable of casting godlike spells, and she has a connection to the king who had a direct connection to the gods. Jenna is also very close to her personal bodyguard Anise, who is also a very skilled and powerful mesmer. Lissa, the god affiliated with the mesmer style of magic, is a being that's actually split into two halves. She's often depicted as two women with long flowing hair. But what's more interesting, in past history, Lissa was known to enjoy disguising herself and hiding among humans, sometimes living among humans for very long periods of time. Very interesting. One can't help but wonder, are Queen Jenna and Anise just the two halves of Lissa disguised, living among us all this time? Speaking of the human gods, let's talk a bit more about them, because there's a few more interesting lesser known bits. Starting with a funny down and dirty one, Dwayna let Malor smash. When the gods lived among their followers in Or, many of the followers were going blind due to the gods' radiance. So to stop this, Dwayna decided it would be safer for the followers to worship statues of them. But these statues needed to be perfect in every detail. Only Malor the sculptor of Or was good enough to do this. While working on the statues, he actually went blind himself by looking at the gods for too long. It's said that when he revealed Dwayna's sculpture to her, she was so emotionally moved by his art that she allowed him to touch her face so he could learn how accurate the sculpture was. Malor was deeply in love with Dwayna, and it's pretty clear that the two of them had a very special and close relationship. Now, if we look at the lore about Grenth, we will learn that Grenth is only half god, or demigod. It's said that he is the son of Dwayna and an unnamed mortal sculptor. It has not ever been confirmed who this mortal sculptor is. However, using the context clues, the only mortal sculptor Dwayna ever had close contact with was Malor. So if we put together all the information we have, I think it's pretty obvious. Dwayna let Malor smash, and because of that, we now have Grenth. Alright, and one more final obscure lore bit related to the human gods to end on. Abdon did all the bad things. Seriously, Abdon is the ultimate supervillain who is behind everything that ever went wrong in the history of Tyria. If by chance you're playing any Guild Wars 1 storylines, you might want to skip this part, because I'm about to spoil a lot of Guild Wars 1 stuff here. First off, Abdon is the fallen god of knowledge and secrets. He's got a very spooky aesthetic. Abdon has a lot of lore and story of his own, but for now all you need to know is that the gods eventually turned against him and imprisoned him. Abdon then held a grudge against the other gods and took it out on the humans. To do this, he caused every major disaster in history. You name it, he was behind it somehow. Abdon would create a demon servant to manipulate Shiro Tagachi, getting him to assassinate the Emperor and release the Jade Wind that devastated the lands of Cantha. He also caused the Searing by using the Titans to give the Searing Cauldron to the Flame Legion, along with the fire magic to use them, which eventually led to the kingdoms of Ascalon being completely burned to the ground. He would continue to use the Titans to manipulate the Char into attacking the humans, keeping the Char-human wars going. He used another demon servant to manipulate Vizier Killborn into thinking the Cataclysm was the only way to protect Or from the Char, which resulted in the entire kingdom of Or being destroyed by the Cataclysm and sinking to the bottom of the sea. Abdon truly was the ultimate supervillain in Guild Wars. He was only stopped after he attempted to return to Tyria. A group of heroes led by Spear Marshal Cormyr would attack him and defeat him, allowing Cormyr to absorb his energy, which would allow her to ascend to godhood and replace him as a god. Well, I think that'll wrap this up for now. These are only a few of the many lesser known lore bits, so maybe we can revisit this topic and discuss more lesser known lore bits in another video. So in that case, feel free to suggest any lore bits that you know of that you think other players might not know. But that's gonna do it for now. I hope you learned something interesting or cool in this video. Thank you for watching, and if you didn't know about this stuff, now you know.